of the parenting series. And here we're going to talk about baptisms and really any ordination. We're talking or ritual, baby blessing, baptisms, priesthood ordination, temple marriage, any rite of passage. This is one of the things that comes up a lot when talking about parenting in a mixed faith marriage. And really the question is what to do when your kids hit one of these LDS rites of passage. So sometimes when the transitioning spouse will kind of keep things on the low, pretty low key. But when one of these events happens, things tend to bubble more to the surface. So how do you deal with it? For instance, do you let them get baptized? Do you stay silent and keep your recommend? What do you do? And many of my clients have kids that are around the age of baptism. And so this is a perpetual question. So that's the context we're going to discuss here, baptism. What to do with the baptism. Now, this is never an easy question to answer. I've seen it result in stalemates, frustration, aggressiveness, passive aggressiveness. That last one's me when my daughter was baptized. All of these things can be the result. I think to avoid these things, there's a helpful tool I want to teach you here. And that is, and the overall aim of the tool is to seek understanding, because that's really where you start to see solutions and softening and success, when your goal is to seek understanding. So if one or both partners feels understood, what actually happens, the decisions that is actually made around the baptism is much less important. And isn't the issue oftentimes the issue is really just being understood and seeking to understand. So this is the exercise I recommend to really develop the skill to understand and the skill to help your spouse, feel understood as much as that's possible. So this is the exercise that I call difficult conversations, and I've taught it before, but I'm going to go through it in detail here specific to baptisms. And this exercise works really well if one partner leads. The other partner doesn't even need to know what's going on. It's just a conversation that's being had. And the goal is to help them feel understood, right? Because once there's understanding, decisions become so much easier. It almost becomes a non-issue, or at least it becomes just so much easier to decide. So this is how it works. It works really well when there's one leader to the conversation. So you, for instance, right? And you might obviously be cognizant of when to have this conversation. Maybe right when things are kind of crazy, there isn't time to talk about it. Obviously not the best time. Be smart about when you choose the time to have a conversation. You can even plan, there's something important I want to talk to you about. Do you have time Saturday at 3 to set aside some time and talk about it? Good ways to prepare yourself and set yourself up for success. So when the time comes, here are some steps to use that can be helpful. So again, if you're the leader, and start out by asking your spouse, tell me your thoughts about, we'll pretend that there's a pretend child named Lily who's about to turn 8. Tell me your thoughts about Lily's baptism. Or maybe you want to say, tell me your thoughts about Lily's 8th birthday. And then I want you to do something that might be a little unnatural for you. I want you to not talk, not push back, not comment, not interact. I want you to just listen. When you do say something, I want you to say something like, tell me more about this. Help me understand your point of view here. Help me understand how you're feeling. Help me understand what you're thinking. Those are the types of follow-up questions that are super helpful. And then you just understand. You seek to understand. You listen. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2, no, you're not going to get this same luxury. This is an exercise, and it doesn't have to be equal. It doesn't have to be the perfect world. So the leader listens and doesn't get to share their own, doesn't get to share all of their stuff. That's not your luxury for this exercise. Not that it's not important, not that it's not valid. It's just not necessary for purposes of this exercise. And then step 3, the leader says, okay, thanks for sharing that. here are the facts as I see them. And then state the facts. And when I say facts, I mean things that are genuinely like 100% everybody would agree are true. Everybody, as in not just you and your family, not just you and the Mormon culture. I mean, everybody would agree as true. So for instance, that could be, thanks for sharing. Here are the facts as I see them. Our daughter turns 8 on July 25th. Here are, my parents have called and asked us about a baptism date. Our daughter has stated her opinion as da-da-da. The primary president has called twice. Okay, those are the facts, and whatever they are for you. And then the leader says, this is a summary of where you summarize what you're making those facts mean. So you're making these facts mean, and I'm making this up, it could be anything, but our daughter doesn't have the capacity yet to make this decision. And I'm making these facts mean our daughter wants this, and this is really important. Now, typical responses, but obviously yours will be tailored to you. And then the leader says, now we understand the issue, let's talk about the solutions. And this is where it gets really kind of fun, because what I want you to do at this point is only focus on the solutions. And the leader may need to remind both people in the conversation to come back, well, what are we going to do? Like, what's the solution here? What can we do about this? How can we solve this? How can we come to a decision that we can both get behind? Come back to the solution, come back to the solution. Tendency is a lot of the times to go back to the problem and to hash out the problem and to hash out this about the in-laws and that about this and that about that. And I want you to not do that. How can we solve this? What are some possibilities here? What are some brainstorms? Like, what are some solutions? Because what's really interesting is when the partner, your partner, feels like they've been listened to, solutions are easy to find. They come when they feel safe, they feel heard, they feel validated, they feel understood. It's so much easier to find solutions from that space. And now listen to me on this. Once you understand your spouse, and this is very different than thinking you understand. This is very different than saying, oh, I know what they think about this. I know what they're going to say about this. But when you really understand, you'll be in a better position yourself to problem solve. It really changes things. This is a very simple exercise, but don't underestimate it. It really works. Try it out and see what happens. You may have to bite your tongue a few times. In the process, I always do. But the best part of this exercise and the true value in it is it helps you to communicate to your spouse that you're willing to hear them out. You're willing to try to understand them. Because like I said earlier, this is often the most important aspect in decision making, is really reaching out and creating a basis of understanding before a decision is made. So do you need more help with this? This is just one of many, many exercises I teach to my clients. Maybe you're ready for coaching. You have a child who's getting baptized and you're in a mixed faith marriage. Chances are you probably could use some coaching. This is one of the regular topics I discuss a lot with my clients. There are solutions. There are ways to figure this out. This does not have to be a stalemate. This does not have to be a situation where somebody loses. Doesn't have to be that way. If you're ready to get some help, I offer just a handful of free calls each month. Go and get yours now. Go to my website, brookeboothcoaching.com, or just message me here on Facebook and we can arrange to set up one of those calls. We can talk about your marriage, do a very valuable exercise. We learn about what's going on in your marriage, and we figure out where you want to go, and we talk about how coaching can get you there. Super valuable exercise. Go get the call and grab one of those time slots now. All right, wishing you the best.